Bellator 285 weigh-in recap show, full card predictions, and the betting breakdown. Make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new, subscribe to the channel. Turn those post notifications on and make sure to share the video as well. We'll talk about each of the matchups on the card after seeing the fighters on the scales. Let's start it off with our first fight of the night between Dante Schiro and Luca Poclit. Now, I picked Dante Schiro earlier on in the week. The scales here, to me, are not going to have a considerable shift. There is Poclit on the scale. There is Schiro. And I love a nose-to-nose face-off. I honestly think this is going to be a pretty good fight. I feel like it deserves to be higher up on the card, but I guess it's not containing an Irish fighter. Even though Poclit is an SBG Ireland guy, they have it as the first fight of the night. But as far as the competition level, it is really good. Poclit's a really solid fighter. He's got good grappling skills. Dante Schiro, I think, matches him in the grappling department, maybe even exceeds him in the wrestling department, and I think is definitely the superior technical kickboxer. I think Dante Schiro is going to be able to win this fight on the cards. I do think it's a hard fight. Poclit is game, 7-1, good fighter, but I really feel like Schiro has got some ability. Range advantage, a little bit taller, a little bit longer. I think the kickboxing is going to be a little bit more crisp. Not like a big knockout striker is Schiro, but he puts shots together, peppering style puncher. I think he finds some openings and is able to win a decision here. And I wouldn't be shocked if Dante Schiro ends up on top of Poclit at some point throughout this fight. I'm saying decision, Dante Schiro to start off the night. As far as the lines for this matchup, let's bring it up here. Schiro is a slight favorite, -170. It's come down a bit. Poclit +160. I like -170. Dante Schiro win decision. The decision prop here is +375. I don't think Shiro's a terrible money line either, but expected method of victory for me is Schiro decision. He will start off the night. Next fight. Asaël Adjoudj versus Jordan Barton. The pick here is Jordan Barton, but I'm going to acknowledge that I think Asaël could be pretty game. From the outside with his kicks, he could be pretty dangerous. And I mean, he could go high and catch Barton with shots. I think Barton uses the more pro experience. I mean, 7-2-1, 3-1. That is double the experience level. Barton also the older fighter of the two, and he's not a bad pressure boxer. He's got decent kickboxing skills. I feel like he's going to have an edge as far as wrestling goes here. If Asaël wins the fight, he's got to keep the distance. We will check all the scales, though, here. There is Barton. Looks good. Red LaRock. There is Asaël. Shirt on, looking slim. Guys are similar stature. I think you're going to see a physical strength advantage towards the side of Barton. I think he'll out-wrestle Asaël if they get inside. From the distance, Asaël has a kickboxing edge for sure, but I think Barton closes that gap. I'm going to say Barton gets himself the win. I'm going to say by decision between these two. Asaël is +158. Barton is -150. Very close lines for a Bellator matchup here. The pick is fight going long, so over 2.5 is -155. I don't think a stoppage is impossible on either side, but I feel like these guys are going to be competitive against one another. Barton edging it out on the cards. Interesting fight, though. I like Asaël. I think that he has a fun style. He's 3-1, though, so he's super young in the game, 23 years of age. There's a lot of time that he has to develop. A win here would be epic, and if he does do it, it's probably something with the kicks, either a body or high kick that gets it done for him. I'm excited to see what he brings to the table here. 3-fight win streak after losing his first fight in Bellator. But Barton is the pick. Next fight on the card. Alex Bodnar and Kenny Mokhonoana. The pick has been Mokhonoana throughout the week. I do think he's going to grind Bodnar out, winning a decision. But young guys in the fight game. 3-0, 4-1. Still things developing. Like this is young prospect battle. There's not a lot of experience here. And I do think both guys have decent ability. I think that Mokhonoana is going to have the wrestling edge. That's why he's been the pick throughout the week. I think he's going to probably grapple in this matchup. There's the face-off here. You can see he's a little bit bigger. I think he's going to be physically stronger. I think if you're looking at the kickboxing, it could be competitive, but I think you're going to see the difference in this grappling game. I mean, wrestling by Mokhonoana, from what I've seen, it's pretty decent. It's not elite level, but he's 3-0. He's a young fighter. I see him out-muscling Bodnar. So Mokhonoana the win. Minus 300, though. Not a line I'm interested in. Plus 275, the dog, Bodnar. Over 1.5, minus 155, but I don't think it's worth playing. Personally, not into it, but I will read the prop of decision. It's plus 260, but I'd rather stay off this fight because you got real young competition. This is a Bellator prelim fight. Like I talk about, Bellator prelims are dangerous. This could be one that's very dangerous, even though I think Mokhonoana is going to get the win. I think it's going to be wrestling heavy. A ton of grappling here. Next fight on the card. I actually really like this matchup. Georgi Karakhanyan and Kane Mousah. I have picked Karakhanyan throughout the week. I actually think there's a legit chance he could knock Kane Mousah out. I think it's going to be a very fun stand-up battle between these two, and it's ultra competitive for sure. I will pull up the scales now. There is Kane Mousah. There is Georgi Karakhanyan. There's a good face-off between these two. Similar statures. I think Karakhanyan might have an edge with the hands. I think he's got more powerful punches. Mousah, though, might be a little bit faster. If Karakhanyan can explode and find his way inside, I could see him cracking that Mousah chin. I'm going to still ride with Georgi by KO. Looking at the odds, Georgi is minus 185, plus 170 for Kane Mousah. KO for Karakhanyan is upwards at plus 700. So this fight is expected to go long here. But I really see these guys throwing down, and I think someone's getting stopped. I think either side could get knocked out here. I'm going plus 700 Karakhanyan. I think that's a very valuable knockout prop because he 100% has the power to sleep. Plenty of lightweights, Kane Mousah included on that. Definitely a fight that I think is going to end inside distance, though the books have it going the full 3. Next fight on the card. Darragh Queally and Kai Stevens. Listen, I'm very confident in Darragh Queally. I know he's really young, but he seems to have the goods. The grappling seems to be incredibly above like what you'd expect from a 1-0 guy. Submission skills, good amateur experience. Kai Stevens is a tough game kid. I mean, 3-1, 24-24. These guys are super young in the fight game and have very long careers ahead. But right now, I think Darragh Queally is ahead, and obviously the books, agree. The bookies have him at a minus 400 plus. Let's first pull up the scales. There's Kai Stevens. He's coming in shape. He's not here to lose. There's Darragh Queally. There's a face-off. I'm going to pick Darragh Queally to win by submission. I see him getting this fight to the floor, and I see him searching for submissions for sure on the mat. Now, the line is ugly, though. Minus 460. Stevens is plus 380 as a dog. You're probably not touching Darragh Queally money line, but if you were to throw Queally to win by submission, you're getting slight plus money at plus 135. It's better than nothing. Plus 135 is there, but ultimately, I think Darragh Queally by submission is a most likely method of victory. If it went long, I think it would maybe harm the stock more so, but I think Darragh Queally for the victory. Next fight on the card. Karl Albrektsson versus Karl Moore. There's only room for one Karl in the top 10 of the Bellator lightweight division, and that to me is Karl Albrektsson. He's been the pick throughout the week. I think he's a really well-rounded guy. He exceeds well in the wrestling. He has a quality upright style of kickboxing, defensively pretty sound. I think he's going to beat Karl Moore in this fight by TKO on the ground. I think he's going to put him on the mat and look to pound him out here with solid ground and pound from the top. Now, as far as Moore, I gotta say, he's a tricky brawler and can bang inside. At times, his style reminds me more of like a 2000s heavyweight being willing to throw down like that. Albrektsson is not that same type of fighter. He's more of a technician than a brawler for certain. Now, I'm going to pick Albrektsson to win. I'm going to say ground and pound KO, TKO, and we're saying second round. Bellator has the fighters here. Karl Moore on the scale. Karl Albrektsson on the scale. Albrektsson's got a funny-ass look to him, man. He's a savage, though. Face off. This should be Karl Albrektsson showcase fight. He should not... I mean, it's not that he shouldn't be touched here, but it shouldn't be that competitive. It really shouldn't be that competitive. He should dominate here if he's really a contender. And I do believe he is. Albrektsson is minus 416. Karl Moore plus 410. Albrektsson to win by decision. That was plus 190. The KO TKO line's plus 250 for Albrektsson. Interesting. Plus 250 Albrektsson. KO TKO. I think he can get it done by KO TKO. Minus 416 money line. It's a non-touch, maybe a parlay piece. We'll talk parlays at the end. But Albrektsson with some confidence here is the pick. Next fight on the card. Another prelim. Holy shit, we got prelims on prelims on prelims. Brian Moore, Arivaldo Lima da Silva. The pick is Brian Moore. I think he's going to get the knockout win. I think Arivaldo da Silva is a guy that deserves this shot. He's 40. He's been fighting forever, and he finally gets the chance on the world stage, which is a top organization like Bellator. I'm happy for the guy. But ultimately, I think Brian Moore is going to beat him up. He's going to touch him up on the feet. Brian Moore's always game. Every fight, he puts out a great effort. For Arivaldo Silva, it'd be like a Rocky story to come in and beat Brian Moore. But ultimately, he's probably going to succumb to, I think, the stand-up assault. I think that Brian Moore touches him up on the feet. I'm thinking KO, TKO. I see Silva getting cracked. He's a southpaw, Silva, which could be beneficial, but could also leave him open for that straight shot by Brian Moore. Because I think Brian Moore's pretty smooth with the stand-up and pressure. And I think he's going to knock Arivaldo Silva out. I'm going to pick Brian Moore, and we'll pull up the scales. I don't think they have a huge factor, but you know what? Arivaldo is shredded, and he's got a bone in his mouth. Pitbull Brothers guy. I mean, this is the chance he's been fucking dreaming of. There's Brian Moore. There's the face-off. I mean, I would love to see Arivaldo Silva get an upset. But most likely, he's going to bed. Brian Moore by KO. Lines for this fight, minus 400 for Moore, plus 245 for Arivaldo. Let's see if we have any props available. Brian Moore, Arivaldo. We have some props here. KO TKO for Moore is plus 250. That is the official prediction. Next fight on the card is our featured prelim, Brett Johns and Jordan Winski. I think Brett Johns is going to out-wrestle him and control him against the cage and on the ground for 3 rounds. Brett Johns could get a ground and pound TKO, but I'm saying more so him winning a grind-heavy decision. He's going to like John Fitchum. The OGs will know. He's going to fitch him. I think he's going to grind, wear on Winski, beat him up a little bit, but really positional control and just gas him, really, with a dominant grappling display. Brett Johns is a pretty solid bantamweight, guys. We can't sleep on him here, especially against a guy like Jordan Winski. I think he looks dominant. And, I mean, the line is crazy wide for a reason. I feel like I'm looking at boxing odds here. These are crazy lines. There's Jordan Winski. There is Brett Johns. There is the face-off. I think Brett Johns gets himself a quality win. Brett Johns is minus 649 at best value, plus 550 for Jordan Winski. Let's see here. KO, TKO for Johns would be plus 400. What's Johns by decision? Minus 110, Brett Johns by decision. I think that's the most likely method. I think Brett Johns gets it done on the cards. Decision win for Brett Johns. Next fight brings us to the main card. If you guys haven't yet, make sure to smash that like button. It's Ciaran Clarke and Rafael Hudson. The pick is Ciaran Clarke. I think he's going to win by submission against Hudson. Hudson is a Nova União guy. He's getting a big opportunity stepping in here. Supposedly, he had a win last month that wasn't counted on his official record, but you can find it on his Instagram. So, I don't know, maybe an exhibition fight or whatnot. He has his record listed as 6-3 on his IG. So, something to note. He's saying that he had a fight that wasn't officially recorded by Sherdog or Tapology, but he's claiming 6-3. So, we'll see what they announce as far as his record on fight day. There is Hudson. There is Ciaran Clarke, and there's a good face-off. Listen, I think Clarke probably wins this fight on the mat, but, like, Hudson went the distance with Sylvester Miller, who's a pretty decent out for anyone. Doesn't have great wins, but, I mean, he's got some fights. Like, he's not a complete salami here. I feel like both guys come in also 150 catch weight. I feel like Hudson could land a big power punch and do damage on the feet. He's a striker. But Clarke most likely is working towards subs. But I wasn't super impressed by Clarke in the last one. He had a tricky out. Abu in the last one, Tukara, he gave him a difficult fight, and then his shoulder dislocates. Ciaran Clarke is not invincible here. I think Hudson could upset him. And the line is crazy, crazy wide. Hudson is plus 500. Maybe you're playing Hudson as a dog. Minus 610 for Ciaran Clarke. Looking at the KO TKO for Hudson, plus 1,200. It's a big line. Nova Unyao guy. He could pull it off. Now, submission for Clarke is plus 155. Still getting plus money on that. I think there's a pretty good chance he does, but it could also be a grinding decision. Hudson, I don't think, is coming here to lose. I'll tell you guys that. Interesting fight to start the main card off. Next one, it is Mads Burnell and Pedro Carvalho. I'm very excited to see Mads Burnell. He's been the pick throughout the week. I think he's going to touch up Pedro on the feet and then get him to the floor and choke him out. I think he's going to win by submission. Maybe club and sub, or maybe just using that superior grappling game. I mean, he submitted Saul Rogers, man, and Rogers is a very tricky guy to deal with on the mat. Pedro Carvalho, Mads Burnell, and there is respect and the face-off. We had Mads Burnell on the money line, so we get some insight on him. Dude's a savage. Loves to spar, Sean Strickland style. Good boxing, smart IQ. He's an intelligent fighter, and I think that he's going to have a big edge in the boxing here. Carvalho's there to be hit, man. I think Carvalho might get slept by a punch, or he gets, club and sub too, because I could see Mads Burnell putting him down and then choking him out. Or maybe Burnell just goes towards grappling and, shows he's superior on the mat. I'm going to pick Mads. I'm going to say Mads is going to look pretty damn good. He is minus 500 as a favorite, incredibly wide. Plus 430, Pedro Carvalho. They're just choosing to list these as crazy wide lines. Like, this fight to me should be minus 200, minus 300 maximum. It shouldn't be this wide. We got boxing style lines here. Burnell is to win by submission, plus 300. Burnell KO TKO, plus 300 as well. Burnell by decision is plus 165. I think he's getting the finish in this fight. I'm picking Mads Burnell win via submission over Pedro Carvalho. Fun matchup here. I'm excited to see Mads work. Next fight, Leah McCourt and Diana Silva. I'm picking Diana Silva. I've talked about, though, she needs to keep McCourt off of her. She can't get taken down here. If she does get taken down, she needs to get back up to the feet. So we'll find out very early how competitive this fight's going to be. McCourt is a tricky grappler. She has very good clinch trips, and if she gets inside on Silva, could be trouble. Diana Silva needs to land punches and make Leah McCourt respect the hell out of the power coming back at her to make her a little bit nervous to close that gap. If she doesn't do that, I think McCourt's going to really just dominate the grappling exchanges. So I'm going to pick Diana Silva by decision, but very dependent on if she lands the clean shots. There is Diana Silva on the scales. There is Leah McCourt. Then there is the face-off between these two ladies. A little bit taller, Leah McCourt. Let's see if she can close that gap. The stand-up just isn't there. I think Diana Silva has a big edge there. So if she can defend the grappling, she should outstrike her clearly. We'll find out if that actually goes down. Diana Silva's minus 125. I don't love her at, favorite status to play. Leah McCourt plus 120. Underdog. Definitely a live underdog here. Let's see. McCourt to win via submission. I'm curious what that line is, even though I'm picking against it. Upwards of plus 950. Silva to win a decision is plus 163. McCourt decision plus 185. I think we're going the distance. Minus 275 for fight goes distance here. I'm going to pick Diana Silva, but Leah McCourt is very live. Pick'em's fight. That's why it's such a close line. This is even money. Co-main event. Yes, be excited. It's Yoel Romero and Melvin Manhoef. Yoel is a legend of the game at this point, and as is Manhoef, especially in the striking department. Let's not forget Manhoef slept Mark Hunt in one punch. So Manhoef has got some legendary status. And if he lands a clean shot, he can knock out just about anyone. Yoel Romero has a clear advantage in the wrestling. I've picked Yoel Romero throughout the week. I think he's going to win this fight. On the feet, I think he could knock Manhoef out. But there is significant power coming back at him that if Romero got overzealous, it's not impossible for him to get cracked by a dynamite punch. Manhoef, if anybody's sleeping Romero, it's going to be Manhoef by some weird fucking knockout punch that just lands beautifully. But if Romero chooses to wrestle, I think he will destroy Melvin Manhoef on the ground. Manhoef is 46. He's been out nearly 2 years. Yes, Romero a year younger, 45. Not super young in the fight game by any stretch. But he's been active. I feel like Manhoef could be slower. I think the chin could really be tested. I'm going to say Romero knocks him out with the hands. And I'm thinking first round. We'll pull up the fighters on the scales. There is Manhoef. You know, he's jacked as fuck, but not super shredded. There is Romero, who looks incredible. He's got some height on Manhoef as well. It's going to be interesting to see Romero with that height advantage. I think Yoel Romero by knockout in the first round. I think this is an incredible matchup. It makes a ton of sense, and it's a showcase fight for Romero if he's able to get the knockout because he's minus 700. Manhoef at plus 510. There's no value in the Romero money line. Romero KO TKO minus 165. Manhoef by KO upwards of plus 850 if you're looking for a crazy-ass Hail Mary. Imagine Manhoef chins him in the first, wins in round 1, plus 1,500. I think Romero's going to get his hand raised by knockout. He definitely should win this fight. He's the better technical fighter overall than Melvin Manhoef. But does Romero want to bang? Does he end up getting caught in a brawl? And Manhoef, crazy enough, is the guy to starch him? I'm going to say no, but it's not impossible. Yoel Romero, the pick by KO. Main event of the evening, it is Benson Henderson and Peter Queally. If you guys haven't, make sure to smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe to the channel. The pick is Peter Queally as an underdog. I really think his striking could be a game difference between the two. I love the pressure. I love that Benson Henderson doesn't bring a power threat on the other side. So I think Queally's going to be very persistent with punch combinations moving inside. Henderson is a very technical fighter. And I do think if he can mix in some wrestling here, he could be successful. But I think Peter Queally is as live as it gets for an underdog. He's just coming off the title fight against Patricky. He won the first bout, loses the second, but was game as hell up until he was caught by a dynamite punch. Queally doesn't have that same risk of knockout against a Benson Henderson. There is Peter Queally on the scales. There is Benson Henderson on the scales. Queally, the bigger guy. I think Queally's going to beat him up. I think Queally's TKOing him in the third round. That's the official pick. KO TKO, round 3, Peter Queally. He's in incredible shape. It's now, I think, if he wants to get back in the mix, it's got to be this one. He's got to beat a Benson Henderson. Queally plus 174 as an underdog. I like the dog. Benson Henderson minus 190, the favorite. I'm going to say Queally KO TKO. Queally by KO TKO is upwards of plus 500. I think he gets it done in that manner. Benson Henderson does not offer the significant striking threat. He's the creator of the calf kick, but he's never been the king of it because he's never stopping people with calf kicks. Peter Queally has fight-ending power. He has dangerous kicks in his own right. And I think the takedown defense will be there. He's going to have a physical advantage. Younger guy. I see Peter Queally getting his hand raised. I think he's a great money line dog play. I think he's a pretty good KO prop. Why not throw down on Queally for KO? Plus 500. I'm going to pick him to beat Benson Smooth Henderson in our Bellator 285 main event. Pretty solid Bellator card. I will be live for the main card, so make sure you guys tune in to the Fight Companion. We'll be talking about each of the matchups. Very much looking forward to that. Before I send you guys off, we'll quickly drop a parlay. Now, there are incredibly wide favorites that we can add in. We went into it on this week's Best MMA Bets, but if you're looking purely for closer, somewhat more valuable lines here, we're going to try and give you something that's more playable. We have minus 175 Dante Schiro. If you want to go him, and in the main event, Peter Queally, you got plus 300 if you go in Dog City. Every other line is kind of inflated past reason. I mean, for good value, you can throw in Georgie, but he's in a tough fight. Plus 530 for that one. If you wanted to add in wide favorites, you go Mads Burnell. You add in maybe Brian Moore, Darragh Kelly, Karl Albrektsson, Brett Johns. Plus 895. Super, super long shot, though, because we have so many fighters on it. And if you take out Queally, you're at just plus 290. And that's just taking one guy out. You need that dog money in there. Maybe it's better to just play the close-ish lines. You go Queally. You add that slate in. Where's Brian Moore at? With Brian Moore and Schiro, these three, plus 410. Ultimately, be cautious with your parlays. It's Bellator action. These lines are wide. And, you know, some risk to them. Some risks to the plays. Ultimately, though, I think we're going to have a lot of fun watching this card. Cannot wait for Yoel Romero's return to action. Got to love watching Yoel fight. And I love watching Melvin Manhoef fight, too. Guys, make sure to smash the like button. If you're new, subscribe. Turn those post notifications on and make sure to share the video as well. Much love to the support. Much love to everybody watching. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of the picks. If you don't have anything to say, just drop a W in the chat. As always, much love, my people, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace, everyone.